What if your pain isn't a punishment, but a preparation for power? What if the battles weren't meant to break you, but to build a throne under your feet? You were rejected, overlooked, and broken, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to the enemy. Let me show you why your loneliness is proof you're chosen. Everyone sees the crown, but no one talks about the crushing. Before purpose comes pain. Before destiny comes silence. Are you strong enough to stay faithful through the fire? There's something deeply misunderstood about being called, about being chosen. Most people think it's glamorous that being set apart means being celebrated. But the truth? When you're chosen for a purpose greater than yourself, it comes with a burden that few are ever asked to carry. It's not about being lifted up on shoulders. It's about being pulled away from the crowd, away from comfort, away from what's familiar. The chosen, those marked for something higher, never walk the same path as everyone else. And because of that, they often walk it alone. When God calls you, He doesn't pave a wide, easy road. He doesn't place you safely among the crowd where you can blend in and feel supported. No, He draws you out. He pulls you aside. He sets you apart not to isolate you, but to prepare you. But let's be honest, that separation can feel brutal. It can feel like rejection, like you don't fit anywhere, like no one truly sees you. It's the ache of loneliness wrapped in divine purpose. And yet, here's what you must hold on to. You were never meant to belong in the place you were called to lead. The weight of being chosen is not light. It changes how you see, how you hear, how you think. Suddenly, the vision burning in your spirit, the one no one else can see, pulls you in directions others won't understand. You'll try to share it, and they'll look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. You'll try to bring them along, but they won't want to go. And that's where the pain cuts deepest. Because being chosen doesn't just separate you from the world, it often separates you from the people you love most. Some of you have lived this. You've sat in rooms full of people and still felt like a stranger. You've been surrounded by family and friends and still felt a quiet emptiness gnawing inside. And you've wondered, what's wrong with me? But the truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. There's something different about you. That feeling of being out of place, it's not a mistake. That ache in your chest, not an accident. It's a signal, a holy sign that God is doing something in you that He isn't doing in everyone else. You've been set apart, chosen, and because of that, you cannot think like everyone else. You cannot move like them. You cannot live like them. That's why you don't fit in. That's why you struggle to relate. Because what God has placed inside you requires a different environment to grow. It demands separation. It calls for focus, for discipline, for obedience, and perhaps most painfully, it requires that you let go of the need to be understood. Throughout history, every great man and woman of God has walked this path. Isolation has always been part of the preparation. Look at Moses, raised in the palace of Pharaoh, but never truly at home there. Called to lead, yet initially rejected by those he was sent to rescue. Look at Joseph, gifted with prophetic dreams, only to be betrayed and sold by his own brothers. Look at David, anointed as king while still just a shepherd, sent back to the field time and time again. The pattern is consistent. The separation comes before the elevation. And it hurts, it humbles, it breaks you. But that breaking, it's not destruction, it's transformation. It's how God strips away everything that can't go with you into your next season. The relationships that were only for a moment, the habits that once served you but now hold you back, the voices that distract from His. And often, the only way He can free you is to pull you away from all the things you once thought you couldn't live without. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's lonely. There are nights when the weight feels unbearable, days when you wonder if God made a mistake in choosing you, moments when you want to give up. But hear me clearly, you were built for this. You were chosen for this. If God called you, He will strengthen you. That loneliness, it's not the end of your story. It's the fire that forges your purpose. It's the sacred space where He speaks the loudest. It's the hidden place where your true identity is shaped. So don't run from it. Don't fight it. Embrace it. Because when the time comes when God says now, and you step into the fullness of your calling, you'll look back and realize it was never loneliness at all. Before the chosen ones ever step into their divine destiny, they must walk through a season few, talk about a season of breaking. David, though anointed as king, was sent back to the fields time and again, as if the oil on his head hadn't changed anything. Over and over, he was overlooked. And that's the pattern. The same one that repeats across every life marked by God's calling. Loneliness comes before the elevation. And that loneliness, it doesn't just linger on the surface. It seeps deep into your bones. It breaks you. It crushes your pride. It strips you down to your knees. But strangely enough, that very breaking, though painful, isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to make room, to remove everything in your life that was never meant to come with you into your next chapter. That includes relationships that served only a season, not a lifetime. Habits that once helped you survive, but no longer align with where you're headed. Distractions that once comforted you, but now keep you from hearing His still, small voice. And sometimes, the only way God can truly prepare you is to pull you away. Away from everything. Away from everyone. Even the ones you thought you couldn't live without. I know it hurts. I know the nights are long and the questions are many. You lie awake wondering, why would God trust me with such a heavy burden? There are moments you want to quit. Moments you feel like maybe you just don't have what it takes. But hear me now. You do. You were made for this. Built for it. Chosen intentionally for this very road. And if God is the one who called you to it, then He will also equip you to carry it through. This loneliness you feel, it's not the final page of your story. It's the beginning of a brand new chapter. A refining fire where your purpose is purified. A sacred space where God's voice grows louder. A quiet preparation ground for something greater than your current eyes can even comprehend. So don't resist it. Don't rush through it. Don't resent it. Embrace it. Because when that moment arrives, when God finally says, it's time, and you step boldly into your full calling, you'll turn around and realize what felt like loneliness was actually God's nearness. It was His presence shaping you, walking beside you, silently preparing you for what's next. But then comes the next test, the one that strikes even deeper: rejection. Rejection has a way of tearing through your soul. It makes you question your worth, your purpose, your identity. You step out in faith, fully believing that others will recognize the calling within you, that they'll support you, stand with you, cheer you on. But instead, they walk away. They turn their backs. They minimize what God maximized in your heart. That kind of pain doesn't just sting, it shakes you at your core. But hear this clearly. Rejection is not punishment. It's preparation. It's not God saying, you're not good enough. It's God saying, I'm setting you apart. Too often, we take rejection personally. We see it as failure, as evidence that we're unwanted, unworthy, or just not ready. But in God's hands, rejection becomes redirection. It becomes protection. It becomes the divine safeguard that prevents you from settling for anything less than your calling. Think about Josephus. Own flesh and blood rejected him, threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery. And yet, through that very betrayal, God led him to Egypt, to the palace, to the position that would fulfill the vision placed in him long ago. If Joseph's brothers had embraced him, he never would have left home. He never would have been forced down the road that shaped him into a ruler. The very ones who should have lifted him were the ones who pushed him right into his destiny. And sometimes, the same is true for you. Those you thought would support you, they don't understand. They can't see what you see. And in those moments, you'll feel the pressure to dim your light, to lower your calling, to shrink just so you can belong. But let me remind you, God didn't call you to be accepted. He called you to be set apart. He called you to rise, to take the path few dare to take, to stand where others refuse to stand. So when rejection comes, and it will, don't waste your time chasing after closed doors or convincing people of your worth. If God allowed the door to shut, He has something greater behind another one. You might not see it now. You might not understand it. But in time, with faith, you'll realize every no was a divine, not this because something better is coming. You may not see it right now. You might not understand why things happen the way they did. But if you trust Him, if you keep moving forward, step by step, even through your confusion, a day will come when it all makes sense. You'll look back and realize every rejection was never meant to break you. It was meant to bless you. Every no was not a dead end. It was a divine detour guiding you to a greater yes. Yet some of you are still holding on to the sting of rejection. You're clinging to memories of those who walked away, replaying their harsh words over and over in your mind. You're allowing their opinions to shape your worth. But let me speak truth over you right now. Your value is not determined by the ones who left. Their silence doesn't define your voice. Their rejection doesn't cancel your calling. If God called you, that's all the confirmation you'll ever need. If He chose you, then no rejection, no closed door, no human opinion can stop what He's already planned. The only thing that needs to change is your perspective. What if rejection isn't a loss, but a signal? A sign that God is rearranging your path, closing the doors that were never meant to open in the first place? He's not trying to punish you. He's protecting you. He's removing the people who cannot walk with you into the next chapter, not because they're bad, but because they're not equipped for where you're going. And when that day comes, when you finally step into the moment God designed you, for you'll be surrounded by the right people, in the right place, at exactly the right time. None of it will be by accident. Even Jesus faced rejection. He was mocked, ridiculed, and cast aside by the very ones he came to love and save. He was betrayed by those closest to him. And still, he never allowed that rejection to stop him from fulfilling his mission. So if Christ himself had to endure rejection to fulfill his purpose, why would we expect to be embraced every step of the way? The truth is simple but sobering. The greater the calling, the deeper the rejection. The higher the purpose, the lonelier the road. But don't mistake that loneliness for abandonment. Don't confuse pain with punishment. That rejection, it's just another part of your preparation. It's shaping you, refining your heart, strengthening your spirit. Because when the moment finally arrives, when you're standing in the place God has been leading you all along, you'll look back and see with clarity. Every rejection was God's way of saying, I have something better. He was always in control, always guiding, always preparing you even when you didn't realize it. So the next time rejection knocks at your door, don't crumble. Don't beg for acceptance from those who can't see your value. Instead, stand tall, lift your head high, and remind yourself, you were never created to blend in. You were born to stand out. And every rejection is just one more step pushing you closer to your purpose. There comes a point in life when it all clicks, when you understand that before God elevates you, He first allows you to be broken. And no, not broken beyond repair, not shattered into pieces that can't be restored, but broken in a way that strips you of everything not meant to continue with you into the next season. This kind of breaking is holy. It doesn't destroy, it purifies. It humbles, it realigns, because God never promotes without preparation, and preparation, more often than not, comes clothed in pain. Many believe being chosen should mean an easier life, a smoother path. But look closely at the lives of anyone God has ever used. Before the elevation comes isolation. Before the breakthrough comes heartbreak. Before the crown comes crushing. And in that crushing, you'll feel the foundation beneath you shaking. Everything you thought was stable may begin to fall apart. The people you thought would stay may suddenly disappear. You'll ask, why God? Why all this pain when all I've done is try to follow you? But that's exactly it. Being chosen doesn't mean comfort, it means being refined for something others couldn't handle. When your calling is high, God cannot afford for you to carry anything that will compromise your assignment. Pride, bitterness, the need for approval, He has to strip it away, not out of cruelty, but because what He's preparing for you is far too sacred, far too powerful to be carried by the person you were before the breaking. Look at David again. Anointed while still a boy, called by God to be king, yet for years he never touched a throne. Instead, he spent his days running, hiding in caves, fleeing for his life from a jealous king. He was betrayed by the very people he once risked everything to protect. Yes, God had already chosen him. The calling was clear. The anointing was real, but he still wasn't ready. He had the oil, but he still needed the fire. And that fire was the process, the long, painful process of becoming the man who could actually carry the crown. Some of you are in that same place right now. You're not confused about the calling. You know you were made for something more. But the journey, the process, it's breaking you in ways you never expected. You're standing in the middle of the breaking, watching everything around you shake loose, and asking questions you can't seem to get answers for. Why are doors closing when you're doing everything right? Why are the relationships you trusted most falling apart? Why does it feel like the very things you prayed for are slipping through your fingers? And maybe, just maybe, the answer is this. Because God is making you into who you were always meant to be. Gold is only made pure when it passes through fire. Diamonds are only formed when they're pressed under unbearable pressure. Olive oil only flows when the olive is completely crushed. And you are no different. What God has placed inside of you, the strength, the vision, the purpose, the calling it, can only be revealed through the breaking. Not through comfort, not through ease, not when everything feels good and stable. It happens when your back is against the wall, when you're on your knees with nothing left but faith. It's in that place, the place of total surrender, where the real transformation begins. You may not be able to see it now, but one day you will. One day, you'll look back on the pain with gratitude. You'll thank God for every door He closed, every friend He removed, every opportunity He didn't let you walk into. Because each loss was not working against you, it was working for you. What looked like rejection was divine protection. What felt like suffering was silent preparation. What seemed like the end was actually the beginning of something far greater. So don't resist this process. Don't fight the breaking. Don't rush the healing. Let God work. Let Him strip away the things that no longer serve who you're becoming. Let Him cut off the attachments that weigh you down. Let Him quiet the noise, remove the distractions, and separate you from the things that are quietly keeping you from fully stepping into your assignment. Yes, it will hurt. Yes, it may feel unfair. Yes, there will be moments you'll cry out, "God, why this?" But when He's done, when the refining is finished, you'll rise stronger, wiser, unshakable. And when the time comes for elevation, you won't just be ready, you'll be transformed. But the thing about God's preparation is this: He doesn't always make it obvious. He doesn't send lightning bolts or trumpet sounds to announce that you've been set apart. No, more often, it's quiet, subtle, undeniable only to your spirit. He makes you different. And for a long time, you might not even realize what's happening. You just sense that you don't quite fit. You're in the room, but something in your soul whispers, "You're not meant to stay here." You're offered opportunities, but they don't sit right. You have connections, but they don't last. The world keeps offering you pieces that almost fit, but never truly belong. So you begin to wonder, why do I feel like I don't belong? Why is my path so different from everyone else's? And here's the truth, because you were never meant to blend in. You weren't designed to fit in spaces that dilute your calling. You weren't created to settle into systems that were never built for you. You are different, not by accident, but by assignment. The calling on your life is not ordinary, so your path can't be either. The purpose God placed inside of you requires a different route one fewer people will ever understand. That's why there's a weight that sits on your shoulders others can't see. That's why you carry a loneliness that often shows up in the middle of joy. You can be surrounded by people and still feel the solitude of purpose. And if you're not careful, that uniqueness, the very thing that sets you apart, will start to feel like a curse. You'll begin to resent the difference. You'll look at your isolation as punishment instead of preparation. You'll start to believe that something is wrong with you just because you think differently, move differently, and refuse to settle where others stay. But let me tell you something. Being different is not a curse. It's a confirmation. It's the visible sign that God's fingerprints are on your life. It's the sacred evidence that He has called you higher, set you apart, and is shaping you for something far greater than what's in front of you right now. But that kind of calling, it comes with a cost. It means you'll lose people along the way. It means some won't understand you. It means you'll have to walk into unfamiliar places, alone. You'll walk through doors, trusting that if God opened them, He'll also walk beside you through them. You'll have to make decisions that seem illogical, choices that don't fit the pattern others live by, choices that require courage, choices that demand deep faith, and yes, sacrifices no one else may ever fully understand. Look at Moses. He had it all raised in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by luxury, royalty, comfort, and control. He had everything most people dream of, but still, he knew something didn't sit right in his spirit. He didn't belong there, and when the moment came, he chose the wilderness over the palace. He exchanged power for purpose. He walked away from everything familiar because deep down, he was called to something eternal. And that calling didn't lead him to comfort, it led him to isolation. It led him into a vast wilderness where he had nothing but God. Yet in that place, that quiet separation became the foundation for everything God would later do through him. Some of you, you're in that exact wilderness right now. You feel cut off from what used to feel like home. Everything familiar has shifted. People you trusted have faded. And in the silence you wonder, did I miss it? Did I mess something up? Let me tell you clearly, no, you didn't miss it. This is not punishment. This is preparation. God is not hiding you to hurt you. He's hiding you to heal you. He's setting you apart so He can shape you. He's pulling you back from the crowd so you can learn to depend on Him, not on circumstances, not on affirmation, not on comfort. He's training you to trust Him when the map disappears. He's teaching you to walk by faith, even when every step feels uncertain. And when the day comes, because it will come, when God finally unveils what He's been preparing you for, you'll look back and realize every lonely night, every painful goodbye, every road that didn't make sense, it was all necessary. He wasn't punishing you, He was positioning you. He wasn't ignoring you, He was investing in you. And when He finally calls you to step into your purpose, you'll carry something unshakable. You'll stand with a strength no one will be able to explain. Because what you gained in isolation cannot be taught in the spotlight. It can only be forged in the hidden places. But with that calling comes resistance. There's something about being chosen that makes you a target. The very moment God marks your life with a purpose, the battle begins. And for many of you, that battle started early. Some of you have had to fight for everything: your voice, your peace, your joy, even your survival. It seems like while others coast, you've been climbing uphill. You didn't choose the fight found you. From childhood to now, it's felt like something or someone was always pushing against you. And sometimes you wonder, why is my life such a battlefield? Let me tell you why. Because the enemy sees what's inside of you even when you don't. He sees the calling. He sees the threat. He sees the future. And he's terrified of it. The enemy does not waste time attacking people with no purpose. He doesn't go after the ones sitting still. He targets the ones moving forward, the ones who carry oil, the ones who carry fire, the ones who, if they ever realize who they truly are, will become unstoppable. That's why the pressure has been so intense. That's why the attacks have come from unexpected places. That's why you've survived what others didn't, because what's in you is holy, and hell knows it. Just look at Joseph. God gave him a dream, a clear vision of the future. But before that dream could ever manifest, Joseph had to be thrown into a pit. He was betrayed by his own brothers, the ones who should have protected him. He was sold into slavery, falsely accused, locked away in a prison he didn't deserve. From the outside, it looked like everything in his life was crumbling. But from heaven's view, everything was falling into place. Each betrayal moved him closer. Each delay aligned him better. Each painful chapter positioned him for the purpose God had already written. And some of you right now are standing in that very same space. You're looking at your life, and nothing makes sense. You're in the pit, and you can't see the palace on the other side of this pain. You're standing in the middle of your life, trying to make sense of all the struggles, all the battles, all the attacks that have come against you, wave after wave. And right now, it might feel like none of it adds up, like the weight you've carried has no purpose. But what you can't yet see is what's unfolding behind the scenes. Every single fight, every hardship, every tear-stained prayer has not been wasted. It's been building something in you. What the enemy meant for harm, God has been using for your good. The pain that was supposed to break you, it's actually been forming you, molding you, equipping you for what's ahead. Because the truth is, God doesn't place great responsibility in untested hands. He doesn't entrust weighty callings to unprepared hearts. So yes, He allows the struggle not to crush you, but to strengthen you. He permits the pressure not to defeat you, but to develop something immovable in your spirit. If you're going to carry the mantle He's placed on your life, you must be strong enough to stand under it. You must be wise enough to discern the attacks disguised as opportunities. You must be resilient enough to press forward, even when everything in you screams to quit. And that's why the enemy has fought you so viciously. That's why the opposition has been relentless. Because he knows if you ever fully step into your calling, if you ever wake up to the power and authority already placed within you, there will be nothing he can do to stop you. Yes, he can attack. Yes, he can delay. But he cannot steal what God has ordained. He cannot undo what heaven has already spoken. So don't let the battle make you bitter. Don't let the weariness make you forget who you are. Don't let the scars convince you that you're broken beyond repair. Every hardship is confirmation. You are not ordinary. You've been set apart, marked by heaven, anointed for something that shakes the earth. And when this season is over, and it will be over, you'll emerge not just stronger, but unshakable. You'll carry wisdom forged in fire. You'll possess peace that the world can't touch. And you'll be ready, fully ready to walk in everything God has promised you. Because here's what you must never forget. When God places a calling on your life, He doesn't just prepare the path for you, He prepares you for the path. And that preparation is rarely what we expect. It's rarely smooth. It's almost never easy, but it is always necessary. Being chosen doesn't mean the doors swing wide with applause. Sometimes it means silence. Sometimes it means rejection from the very people you love. Sometimes it means hidden seasons where no one sees what you're carrying. It means lonely nights, unanswered questions, and battles you never imagined you'd have to face. You start to wonder, if I'm really called, why is it so hard? If I'm chosen, why do I feel so overlooked? If God is with me, where's the breakthrough? But maybe the very evidence you're seeking is hidden in the struggle itself. Maybe the rejection is part of the refining. Maybe the crushing is the making. David was anointed as king and then sent back to the sheep. He wasn't crowned. He wasn't celebrated. He was forgotten. And what followed his anointing wasn't ease, it was hardship. He ran, he hid. He fought battles that weren't even his to fight. But every cave, every betrayal, every night alone under the stars was shaping him, toughening him, preparing him to wear a crown that could only sit on a heart formed in surrender. And some of you, you're in that forming season right now. You've been faithful, but doors are still closed. You've been obedient, but the road remains rough. You've trusted God, but it feels like your strength is running out. Let me remind you, just because the promise hasn't arrived yet, doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because the path is narrow, doesn't mean you're off course. God is not punishing you, He's preparing you. In the silence, He's forging your character. In the waiting, He's testing your endurance. In the hidden place, He's building a foundation the world will soon see. And when the moment comes, and it will when the preparation is complete, you won't just walk into your calling, you'll run into it with strength, with clarity, and with holy fire. Not everyone will understand this process. Not everyone will recognize what God is doing in you. Some will question it. Others will walk away from it. But don't let their lack of vision blur what God has already made clear. If people leave, let them go. If doors close, trust they were never meant for you. If the weight feels heavy, remember, it's because the calling is real. The chosen will always carry the greatest battles, but they will also walk in the greatest glory. Because once you've been tested, refined, and proven, once you've walked through fire and still chosen faith, nothing can stop what God has ordained for your life. So don't give up now. Don't let go in the middle of the process. Don't let the struggle overshadow the promise. Keep walking, keep standing, keep believing, because what God has spoken over your life will not return void. And when your moment comes, when heaven opens and destiny calls, nothing in this world will be able to stop what God has already set in motion. Because your time is coming.